So here is another episode where we load image from the computer. We take image from the computer, and then we'll place it into a data grid view manually. So first we use the import system.io. So that's going to help us use the uh, form file image using the image attribute, and we also import systems.drawing.imaging. That will also aid in changing the size or the format of the image into the data grid. So now we declare a variable. That's so the system drawing imaging helps us declare a variable such as the DVG image column as a new data grid image column. So that helps us use the image. So now the DVG image column dot header text. So the title of that column. So that's the image. And now we add the newly created image column to our data grid view. So data grid view one dot columns dot add and the variable that's DVG image column. Now we have to add some small editing to it. So now we have to make the column automatically resize to fill the entire width of the grid. So we use the data grid view one dot auto size column mode, then data grid auto size column mode dot fill. So we use the fill for that one, and then with the layout we'll make it stretch and maybe increase the height to 100. So this one, so here we have data grid view dot one dot allow user to add rows. So we set it to false so that the user cannot manually add images or manually add images to the data table UI. So here we load the images and add them to the grid. So here we add the images manually. So we then declare a variable image and image dot farm. Then we'll choose the location in which our image is, and then we'll add it to the image row. So we replicated that for about 5 images, and now we'll come to the where the user clicks to cell to data grid. So this image object directly from the cell that was clicked. The value of the image is already an image object. So here's the assigning it to the data grid. So the picture box is equal to image. So everything that will be in the picture box will transfer to the image so that it can be shown in the data table. So we'll click here to run. And manually, this is the image that we chose. So this is the image that will be displayed. It was stretched and the height was 100, and we're using fill, so every aspect of the row will be filled. So here is another form of adding image to the data grid view manually, not using not inputting the code in it. So from here you browse your image and add the image that you like, and we'll assign it to an ID. So add to data grid view or update. So here is the code. We import system.io, which will help us in the image preview and assigning the ID then. So now we come to our form load, and we declare a variable which will contain the header title. That's the ID of the data table column. And now create a special column for displaying images with name with a header text image. Then the image will be stretched to add, and then we'll add a column to the grid column for the ID, and column 0 for ID and column 1 for image. And now we use for the appearance we use fill and the height 120 and false to allow users to add rows manually from the UI. So now when we click on browse image, this OPF dot filter will help us choose image of our choice, so that will send us to the our PC's storage so that we can select an image from there. And here we'll use an if statement. If the OP show dialog result equals okay, then the picture box image, that's the image from the from file opf.file. So we just, so if the image is clicked, is the result is okay, then the image we have chosen will be assigned to the picture box image. And now when we click on add, that's the picture box image. We save the image in a raw format. So it will image bait because ms dot to array, so to add it to the array of the table. And now assign it to the data grid view dot row add dot text id text, then the image column. So here the catch ex as expectation. So the catch is used, the try and catch, the try is used to check for general errors before the code, after the code has been executed, so that it will display a message. Maybe the image file is not responsible, or is not in a good format. And we check, click to check if a row was clicked or a header was not clicked. We use the if statement again to check for that, for unnecessary errors. Maybe if updating a cell, when you go and click on a header instead of the cell, so if you click on a header it won't work because of this if statements here. And then update table, this one is also, we use the if statement to check that a row is selected before trying to update. If the row is selected, then it will proceed to update. If it's not selected, then it will give a pop-up message that please select a row to update. Then we'll convert the image from the picture box into byte array to the array in the table, and then it will update the cells. So when you run the code, this is how it is. So we'll give it an ID 1, then we'll click on browse images. So we, from here we can select an image of our choice, click on open, then add to data grid view. So here it has been added, so we can update it, click on it, update. So browse, then maybe you want to choose another image, then update the same index, it has been updated. So in this episode, we are going to deal with checkbox. So how to activate checkbox in a data grid view. So down here we declare the rules and add a true checkbox. If the checkbox is true, then this one we manually add it to, like, for a default view. Then the auto size column mode, will assign it to the data grid view fill column mode, that's fill, for the appearance. And allow users to add rows is always false because we don't want any errors. And now we'll create a data grid view checkbox column object, and we'll name the header text as checkbox, and then we'll add columns to it, and the appearance is fill, and allow users to add rows first. And here we'll add a boolean data to it. This one, the grid will automatically render the data as a clickable checkbox. If we insert true here, it will uh, be viewed as true, as a ticked checkbox. If it's false, it will be viewed as non-checked box. So now let's run the code and see how it shows. So this is how it is, it's showing. So this true, false, false, true, true, false, false, true, false. So we can also manually tick a checkbox, and we can also uncheck a checkbox. So in this section, we are going to manage and act on user selection in a data grid view using checkbox. So here we'll check the status of the checkbox, whether it has been checked, and deleting rows and copying a selected row to another uh, table. So we declare our variables here for the first ID, first name and last name. We'll create the checkbox column for the user selection, and then we'll add a column to the data grid one in a specific order, like, yeah, for columns add ID, first name, last name and checkbox, and then we'll add some rows of data. So there's the data in for the rows manually. So it defaults on default, it has not been checked. So later we'll check for the we'll check for the appearance. So the content should fill the row, and as usual, false to allow users to add rows. So here we'll create the same column structure for the second grid, in which the data will be copied from or moved from the first table to the second table. So here we'll give the header text there. So the column name, ID, first name, last name, and select. And here we'll define the columns and also use the fill attribute for the appearance, and false as allow users to add row. And now, so when you click button to check whether a checkbox has been clicked, we'll use the for loop, where it will loop through every row in the grid to check the ones that have been clicked and the ones that have not been clicked. If it has been clicked, it will display a pop-up message as checked. If not, not checked. And then this is for the remove button to remove a specific rows. We use the for loop also, so to run through the loop, and if the checkbox for the current row is checked, it will so we check delete, remove the entire row from the data grid. So we use the remove at, then the index or I for the I, so the index of the grid. So now using for the display button, which is used to move one column from one table to another table, we use the for loop. So for I as integer equals 0 to data grid row count minus 1. So this would get the value of the checkbox in the current row. And we use the if loop. If the row is checked, then as a boolean false, then we'll loop through the destination grid to see if the row's ID already exists. If it exists, then we'll compare the ID from the source row with the ID in the destination row. So now row already exists equals true, then mark that we found a duplicate. Then if so the exists for stop searching since we found it. And another if after checking all the data grid no duplicate was found. So here's the code. So if row already exists equals false, then data grid dot two data grid view 2 dot row add source cell, so the index of the cells and the value. So we run the code and see how it comes. So there's the already data available in the table. So you can check the table, the each checkbox. We can uncheck for the select. So let's say we check. So let's check if the checkbox have been checked or not. So we check checkbox cell. So the first one has been checked. The second one has not been checked, so not checked. And the third one has been checked, so checked. And now when we want to copy, we want to display the selected rows to the other table. We click on this, so it will copy or duplicate the selected rows only into the new table. And now if you want to remove it, we just check the ones we want to remove, then click on remove. So it will be removed from the original table, not the duplicated one. So yeah, thank you.